What's up everyone, and welcome back to Newschoolers Gear Week at Sunshine Village. We've been testing a bunch of the best boots, outerwear and skis. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about some boots that our testers really loved.
We're going to show you a lot of the design features and tell you a little bit about every one of these boots. They're all a little bit different. They're going to do some things better than others, but I would like to make a disclaimer. We're going to tell you about these boots, but if you're getting new ski boots, you must absolutely go and see a boot fitter. You can't just go and buy something randomly off the shelf just because we talk about it and you like it. Go and see a professional. You're going to have much more fun on the hill when you do that.
Yeah, a boot that fits is going to make or break your day, so make sure you put the work in, and that's going to transform what you get out of any of these products.
So we've got a few different styles of boot here. On this far side, we have a full three-piece cabrio design. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a traditional full-buckled two-piece boot. And then in the middle there, we've got a couple different options. And we've even got one with everyone's favorite addition to the ski boot world, the boa. So we're gonna really dive into these and kind of talk about what makes a cabrio boot good, what makes a two-piece full-buckle boot good, and then kind of dive into these new designs that we've seen from a couple brands that kind of take elements from each of those designs to try and bring the best of both worlds together into one ski boot. The first boot that we're going to look at today is the new Il Moro from Dalbello. This is a three-piece cabrio design. The flex of the boot is mostly coming from the tongue in the front of the boot. A lot of freestyle and freeride skiers like a three-piece design because the flex is more progressive. You don't have a hinge point and a kind of forceful stop when you bottom the boot out. And going big on jumps and landings, you kind of don't want to feel that. It's often good for shin bang, and yeah, these boots are slightly different this year. We're going to run into the changes a little bit.
In general, I'm a three-piece boot guy. I prefer the feel that Milo mentioned of the more sort of progressive flex rather than the feeling of like stiff and then soft and then bottoming out, which you can sometimes get from a traditional boot construction. I have been skiing in this Dalbello Il Moro and the Cabrio. They're both based off the same shell platform. And one thing to note, if you've been skiing these boots before, is the newer boots have a slightly higher volume overall than the old one.
Yeah, if we kind of take a look at the toe box here, this outside portion of the boot has got a little bit wider. It's slightly higher volume than it was before, but that means it's likely to fit a few more people. And if you've been riding park hard for 10 or so years like we all have, you might have a few bone spurs that extra volume is going to help with.
To go along with the new boots, Dalbello have also started manufacturing their own liners. They're doing them in-house with ultra-long foam, which is recycled, which is pretty cool to see. And overall, the changes to these boots just make them a little bit more user-friendly than they were before. So next up, we have a brand new boot from an all-new boot company. This is the Phaenom FS 120, but all of the Phaenom boots are built off the same shell platform. The FR boots are exactly the same shape and they feel very similar. That's what I've actually been running a lot this season, but they just come with a walk mode and a pin toe. Otherwise, these boots are entirely the same construction.
This boot is what Phaenom are calling a hybrid cabrio. It has some elements of a traditional two-piece four-buckle boot in the back portion of the boot, but we still have the tongue like we saw in the Il Moro and in other cabrio boots that we all have loved for many years. So this kind of gives a bit of a blend of styles to the boot. You gain that progressive flex that you see in other cabrio boots, but you gain a little bit more of stiffness through the back of the boot. One of the things that a lot of people have issue with when it comes to a cabrio boot is they can be a little bit softer than their rated flex. So you'd often find a 130 two-piece and a 130 cabrio flex quite differently. The cabrio is generally going to be softer. Phaenom have kind of aimed to address this with these design tweaks, and there's a lot of other cool little features in this boot.
I've been riding these boots a bunch the past season. I actually worked with Phaenom a little bit during the development of the boot itself, and they brought a bunch of really cool ideas to the table with this one. For me, one of my favorite features is the whole boot is modular. It's super easy to take apart. You just need a single tool to dismantle and reassemble the entire boot, and all of the components of the boot are recyclable, which means that these are a pretty sustainable option. You can also buy a ton of different spare parts from Phaenom. So one element of that fully recyclable design is this reimagined power strap that is a rubberized material. It acts kind of like a booster strap. It has a little bit of flex in it, but it also allows you to really crank down the top of the boot with this ratcheted system. And it means you can get a really tight fit around the calf, which I've really enjoyed. I actually have quite a low volume foot, and this is a fairly high volume boot, so it speaks a lot to what they've done that I can actually ski it.
A lot of work has gone into the liner of the Phaenom boot. The baseboard has been built into the underside of the liner, so you can kind of wear them as slippers or around the parking lot at the end of a day of skiing. They also have these eyelets that you can put a lace in. The plastic is pretty burly on the front of the boot, but that leaves a lot of room for adjustments with a boot fitter. And something that's also really nice is how this has been kind of milled out to give a little bit of softness. Often this point of the tongue can be a real cause for concern and soreness for a lot of skiers, and a lot of boot fitters end up taking a Dremel to this to take away material. So I think that's a really cool addition to the liner as well. So the liner for this boot has been very thoughtfully designed, and it's a great addition to what's already a great shell. After looking at the first of our hybrid cabrio designs, we're now going to move on to the new boot from Armada. This boot is the AR ONE, and it blends the two-piece and three-piece design together really, really well. What is different about this boot to the Phaenom is the back side of the boot is very much a traditional two-piece design. This gives a lot of stiffness through the back of the boot. When we spin it around, we can see this tongue provides a bit of that progressive flex that we've seen in the other three-piece designs. What Armada have also done with this one that's really interesting is this middle buckle that creates a lot of the heel retention in the cabrio design has been tweaked to be what they're calling a slingshot design. The buckle spreads out in two directions, pulling the middle of the foot and the ankle joint back into the heel pocket in a more balanced and even way. If you crank down on that middle buckle on some other boots, you may find it just pushes down on the instep, whereas this really works to pull the heel in a backward and 45-degree angle right down into this heel pocket, which for me, with someone with really skinny ankles, that is a huge plus in the boot world.
Definitely offers a lot of features of both cabrio and two-piece boots. And I especially, personally having tried it, I feel like it feels slightly more like a two-piece boot with just a little bit of that progressive feel that you get from a cabrio rather than more of a cabrio boot that has a little bit of additional stiffness like the Phaenom. The AR ONE is a medium volume boot. It comes with 100 last, which is how boot manufacturers describe the volume of their, or the width of their boots, but tends to be something of a non-specific measure. But we feel like this boot actually does have a medium volume overall feel, and it will fit a lot of people who have fairly normal volume feet. It's not going to work as well for the people with super low volume or super high volume feet, but there's also quite a lot of moldability and flexibility in this boot that you can push it out to quite wide.
Armada worked with Atomic on designing this boot. The shell is a full PU shell that is heat moldable, and as is the liner. Something that I really like about this liner is how articulated the heel pocket is. The 130 flex version of the boot is it comes with a tech insert in the toe, but no tech inserts in the heel or walk mode. And what a lot of high-level skiers have been finding is that the walk mode in their boots is a huge weak point, but they still want to have the tech inserts in the toe to use something like a hybrid binding to go uphill. So the 130 of this boot comes with the tech toe inserts but no walk mode, but the softer 110 does not come with that.
I really like the elasticated strap. It's super fat and it comes with elastic elements on the side to really crank your boot down. And it's also possible to adjust both the forward lean and the flex at the back of the boot. You got a 3-stage adjustment here. You remove the screw, like either raise or lower the boot and then screw it back in for adjusting that lean angle.
A few more notes on the liner. It does have 3M Thinsulate in it. This is going to help keep your feet nice and warm on the hill, and also where the cuff spoiler attaches, which does come with the boot, it is Velcroed on, so you don't have to duct tape it on like I've had my cuff spoilers on my boots for the last 6 years.
No duct tape required. Armada.
Yeah.
Cortex 130 Zonal Boa.
Oh, that's a soundbite. What's better than one boa? Two boas. Zonal. The next boot in the lineup is the K2 Cortex 130 Zonal Boa, which is one hell of a mouthful, but a great boot.
It's the first double boa boot from K2. They're offering a full range of flexes in this boot model. They have from 140 down to, I think, 100. This model here is the 130. We also had the 105 out here at the test. Both of them got super good reviews.
Yeah. Boot go tight, boot go loose. Boot go tight, boot go loose.
An important factor in this new K2 Cortex line is that they offer a truly low volume fit. They're one of the lowest volume boots on the market right now, which means that for those skiers who do have smaller, narrower feet, they offer a really good option. And at the same time, the shells are very moldable, so you can kind of push that low volume fit out to a medium volume pretty comfortably. So these boots should fit quite a lot of people. So in the Cortex line, much like with the Armada boots, the stiffest boot, which is actually a 140, comes with a pin toe and no walk mode, which gives you, again, that same flexibility to go free riding, rock a hybrid binding, and take on short tours in what would be your regular boot. And in terms of free ride features as well, all of the boots in the line come with a rubberized insole for impact protection, which is a feature we really like in all of our boots.
The thing we really like about the Boa's addition to ski boots is how precisely you can adjust your fit. We saw a lot of boots with the Boa on the lower portion of the boot last season, and K2 and a few other brands have moved it also up to the top side. This means that you can dial your fit really, really well. It changes the way that the boot wraps around your foot because it is being pulled from all angles. Buckles pull more sort of unidirectionally, whereas the cables in the Boa allow the boot to be cranked down from sort of all angles, really securing your foot in there and securing your fit as well. So this gives you a lot of room for adjustment on the hill. If you're like me, you'll fiddle with your boots all day long, so this could be good if you're that way inclined.
Yeah, another key feature of this Boa construction, especially the double Boa, is it gives you a very uniform pressure across tightening the boot rather than you get pinch points around the buckles and then looser points where there is no buckle. And that can work really well if you've been experiencing like issues in your boots with pressure points in certain locations. Then a lot of people have found the Boa constructions to be a good solution to that.
Yeah, and paired with this, again, we see another really high level liner from K2. It is built from some very sturdy materials. It's got a lot of articulation in the heel pocket, and you can also add laces to it if that is your kind of thing. I often find being able to really cinch the tongue down onto the shin really helps with shin bang, because the reduction of space there from the liner with the laces combined with the Boa, that's going to offer a really, really snug fit around your shin. And if shin bang is one of those things you really hate, this could really help you with that.
Here we have the Tecnica Mach1 130 LV, which is the low volume version in the Mach1 line from Tecnica.
At this point, we are now moving on to the two-piece full buckle designs. The last bit we looked at was a two-piece, but it was double Boa, not full buckle. So we're now back to the more traditional boots in the best of test lineup. One thing that's really good about the Tecnica Mach1 is the stock liner. It's just one of the best ones out there. There's a lot of thought and design has gone into this. It's really cushy, it doesn't pack out that quickly, and it just really holds your foot into the boot really nicely. There's a couple other really thoughtful features on the shell that I'd like to point out. If we look at a lot of the classic problem spots in terms of boot fitting, you can see these dimples across the plastic in the shell. This is to make the boot heat up more evenly when a boot fitter is trying to punch or stretch the boot. And this is in all of the classic problem spots. So As we said earlier, go and see a boot fitter, but this is one of the easier boots to tweak and mold. We spoke in depth with our testers as well, and one of the big things of feedback that we got was that this is one of the truest 130 flex boots out there. They really liked how it flexed. They really felt that 130 was an accurate representation of the flex of the boot. This is going to be really good for people who are just trying to ski hard, ski fast. It's a pretty out and out free ride boot with a good low volume fit and tons of bomber features.
Yeah, so you can see as an added feature, these boots have this T-drive bar at the back, which stiffens up this cuff portion of the boot and gives a true and consistent stiff flex to that back element of the boot there.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about the straps that come with boots. If we take a look at the one that comes on the Tecnica, we have 4 pieces of elastic and a proper cinch lock. As discussed earlier, that connection between the front of the liner, front of the boot, and the shin being really snug is what prevents shin bang. We don't want the foot rocking back and forth in the boot. So the combination of a really good liner and a really good power strap are going to really minimize that sort of feeling of shin bang that we often get in boots that have a little bit too much volume around the calf area.
Another cool thing Tecnica have added to this boot this year is they've made some modifications to the instep area. They call it the quick instep, but essentially these Mach 1 boots were super hard to get on and off before, and it's made that whole process a lot easier.
Continuing through our line of 2-piece 4-buckle boots, we are now moving on to the Lange Shadow. This is another one of those low volume, stiff, burly boots. So this is going to really suit aggressive skiers and those that really need a high level of support and reliability out of a stiff boot. If you're going to be charging hard in variable snow and all of that kind of thing. Lange have been making race boots and very high-end ski boots for a very long time. So you kind of know what you're getting with a company like this. Low volume, stiff. Obviously, first and foremost, get your foot in it before you go and spend any money on the boot. But if this fits your foot, it's going to be a really high performance offering.
This is another one of those boots where our testers really felt that it was a true stiff 130 flex. Yeah, that's something that in general people, especially with lower volume feet, have really enjoyed. While this boot might look quite traditional, Lange have introduced a couple of interesting new technologies with this one. First of those you can find on the back of the boot here, which is the suspension blade system. Essentially, Lange have replaced using rivets and screws on the back of the boot with a single blade which is overlapped and provides a more secure link essentially between the cuff and the clog of the boot, provides a much more uniform fit, so there's less movement, I guess, between the cuff and the clog. And the second thing that you'll see that's new about these boots is they have 2 hinges on the back. The first hinge is found exactly where your ankle bone sticks out. It's in the same place as it is on all ski boots, but there's a second hinge further down which allows the boot to be more rigid, but then also deliver more power to the ski. And that's something our testers could really feel, is they felt that this boot made it really easy to drive some of the stiffer skis, more challenging skis we had out of the test.
One of the things you will notice when you take a look at the liner from the Lange Shadow is that it's somewhat a simple liner. It doesn't have a lot of these sort of extra bells and whistles that some of the liners that we've already looked at do have. But what you will notice is there's a lot of plastic in the tongue of this liner. It is very thick and very burly. That just aims to continue to make this a very high performance boot. It is a stiff boot. It is pretty burly, but if you ski hard and you need something that is going to support you through all of your endeavors on the ski hill, then this could be the boot for you. The last boot in our best of test lineup is the Remedy 130 from Atomic. It is the narrowest boot we have here. It is a 96 last. 130 flex means that it's really stiff. It fits snug. It feels really solid on your feet. Our testers loved it. It's definitely a high performance boot, but if your foot fits in this, I think you'll get a lot out of it.
One thing to note about the new Remedy boot that's been affectionately called the Butter boot by the Atomic team is that it's based on the Redster platform. It basically borrows a lot of things from that boot, which is a full high performance race boot, but adds a little bit more volume around the toe and also adds a shock absorbing boot board to like alleviate impacts when you're out free riding. In general, you see a lot of park skiers trending towards stiffer, heavier, but more powerful boots in order to get performance out of their skis, and this boot is a natural evolution of that.
Yeah, we think that the tweaks that Atomic have made to the base of this boot with the Redster DNA is really going to make it a really good fit for the freestyle and freeride market. Just a little bit more forgiving in some spots in terms of fit, but it retains all of that stiffness and performance that the Redster always had. While the shell of this boot is very thick and stiff, it is built with Atomic's memory fit technology. That means that the shell is completely heat moldable. You can stick it in the oven for a good few minutes. It'll go nice and soft. Put your feet in it and it will conform to the shape of your feet and lower legs. So you get a really, really good fit out of that. But also what Atomic have done is they put in a very good liner. We have the lace-up system. We have a really good power strap, which is elasticated. So combining these two features really helps with that shin hold, stopping shin bang and stopping that shin and calf rocking back and forth in the boot. And yeah, we jump in this thing, it feels really, really solid. Yeah, just bringing this race boot back into the freestyle and freeride space is a really cool move from Atomic.
So one thing I wanted to jump in on here is that Atomic have a really cool two-part power strap to this boot. So it actually has two independent zones that can be tightened. So you can use the Velcro section to tighten the top of the power strap while leaving the lower section to sit over the cuff of the boot and the top section to crank down your liner, which gives you the best possible fit. There's also elastic in here in both elements, so it doesn't give you that rigid stop that a non-elastic strap does. It gives you the performance of an elastic strap. So great strap on this boot, and overall this is a super powerful boot.
Well, there you have it. That's 7 of the best boots that we tested this week at the 2025 Newschoolers Gear Week. As always, if you're looking to buy new boots or upgrade your current setup, please go and see a qualified boot fitter. They will guide you through the process, measure your feet, and guarantee the fit, meaning that they will make adjustments all through the process of you breaking in the boot. So while we've talked about some really cool boots, you might love the ideas and features or even the color of some of them, please make sure you go and see a boot fitter. But what we have seen is a bunch of really cool innovation in the ski boot space that we haven't really seen for a number of years. I think this is a really exciting time for skiers and people who have struggled to find boots that fit, because the options and the technology are just expanding at such an awesome rate that yeah, the space is in the best place that it's ever been.
As always, we want to give a shout out to Sunshine Village. They give us the perfect spot to test all of these boots and the rest of the gear we had this week. We're also dropping videos on skis and outerwear, so make sure you check those out on our channel. And if you've got any questions about these boots or anything else we have in the test, make sure to hit us up in the comments. We're doing our best to get back to you there and give you everything you need to know about next year's gear.
Bye, Four Tilts.